Welcome to this custom deep dive. Today we're taking you into the actual mechanics of human connection.
Yeah, it's a fascinating area to get into.
It really is. And we're guided by this short but honestly incredibly potent excerpt from a text called The Architecture of Desire.
Right, which has some profound things to say about how we relate to each other.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack the counterintuitive mechanics of connection. We're looking at the ultimate paradox, really. Like, why is it that gripping too tightly to the people we want just inevitably destroys the connection?
It's the classic trap.
It is. So, okay, let's unpack this. The text opens with this premise that hits right at the center of human insecurity, which is that the harder you try to control how someone feels about you, the faster you lose them.
Which is a deeply uncomfortable truth about human nature. We have to confront that right out of the gate.
Oh, totally.
What's fascinating here is that we are, just by evolutionary design, creatures who seek certainty.
Right, we want things locked down.
Exactly. When we find a resource we value, whether that's, food, shelter, or a romantic partner, our biological imperative is to secure it. But the text is warning us that in the landscape of desire, control is not just ineffective, it's an active corrosive. Desire fundamentally does not respond to pressure.
I think a good way to visualize this for anyone listening is imagine trying to hold water or sand in your bare hands.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you just cup your hand gently and leave them open, the sand stays there. You can hold it indefinitely. But the second you get anxious and you squeeze your fist tight to, trap the sand.
Just shoots out the sides.
Yes. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips right through your fingers. And pressure in relationships is sneaky like that. It's rarely some cartoon villain demanding obedience. Usually it just looks like anxiety.
Oh, absolutely. It looks like double texting because you need immediate reassurance.
Right. Or subtly steering a conversation just to fish for a compliment. You're trying to engineer an outcome.
And human psychology fundamentally rejects that interpersonal pressure. It comes down to autonomy.
Autonomy being like the need to feel free.
Yeah, autonomy is not just a preference. It's a core, non-negotiable psychological need. There's this verified behavioral mechanism called psychological reactance.
Okay, what is that exactly?
So the moment a person feels their behavioral or emotional freedom is being threatened, they are highly motivated to restore that freedom, usually by doing the exact opposite of what's being demanded of them.
Wow. So even if the pressure is coming from a place of love, or just a fear of loss, the other person's brain just doesn't care.
It doesn't register the intent at all. It only registers the restriction.
Right.
When you try to control someone's feelings, you are fundamentally infringing on their emotional movement.
And the brain flags that as a threat.
Exactly. And here's the brutal reality. You cannot feel genuine desire for an entity that is actively threatening your freedom. Control acts as a literal extinguishing force on that natural spark.
Okay, so if pressure and control actively destroy desire, we have to pivot, right? Like, what actually creates the environment for it to survive?
Well, the text is very clear on this. Desire responds to freedom, to choice, to space.
Right. It needs the feeling that what's happening between two people is natural, not forced.
It's real, uncalculated.
But wait, let me push back on this on behalf of the listener. Because if it's completely uncalculated and you just give total space, how does anything ever happen?
That's the fear, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, isn't there a massive risk of just drifting apart? If no one is steering the ship, it feels like apathy.
I get that. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at how the text defines choice. Holding space is very different from withdrawing or being apathetic.
I think how so?
True desire thrives exactly because of that space. Space creates a gap. And for desire to exist, there must be a gap to cross. It actually requires the other person to actively use their freedom to choose to bridge the gap toward you.
Oh, I see. So it's the difference between genuine organic interest and just a manufactured forced interaction.
Precisely. If you are constantly crowding them, there's no room for them to make a choice. The drift you fear is actually the necessary room where desire gathers its momentum.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But knowing that freedom and space are the ideal, what actually prevents us from giving that space?
Our own minds, mostly.
Right. The text pivots to our internal mechanics. Our thoughts become a trap. It says, the moment you start overthinking every move, you stop being present.
And the moment you stop being present,
Yeah.
you lose the very thing that made you desirable.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I immediately thought of like a performance analogy. Think about a musician or a professional athlete getting in their own head.
Oh, like the yips.
Exactly. You had this Olympic gymnast who has done a tumbling pass 10,000 times. Her muscle memory is flawless.
Yeah.
But the moment she starts consciously analyzing her footwork,
She stumbled.
she totally loses her magic. Or a pianist who starts thinking about the exact placement of his pinky finger. The flow just dies.
It's a great comparison because neurologically, overthinking is essentially an internal attempt at control. When you aren't present, you aren't actually interacting with the other person.
Who are you interacting with then?
You're interacting with your own anxieties. You're trapped in a simulation of worst-case scenarios. And this absence of presence is exactly what strips away your authentic desirability.
Because your authentic self, your unscripted energy, is what they were attracted to in the first place.
Right. And when you hollow yourself out by overthinking, they can feel that absence sitting right across from them.
Man, that's tough to hear, but so true. So let's talk about the physical and emotional consequence of all this overthinking and control. The text brings up tension.
Yes, a very specific kind of tension.
Right, the final lines state, control creates tension, but not the kind you want, the kind that pushes people away.
And then it contrasts that with a really profound idea.
Yeah. It says, because desire isn't something you force, it's something you allow. So what does this all mean for the good kind of tension? If control creates the pushing away kind, what does allowing actually look like?
This raises an important question, because allowing doesn't mean just giving up.
Right. You can't just mean dropping the rope entirely and being like, well, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah,
That just feels detached.
exactly. Dropping the rope completely implies severing the connection out of frustration. That's still a reaction driven by the need for control.
So what's the alternative?
The tension created by control is brittle and suffocating, but allowing creates something different. It implies a quiet confidence. Think of it like the tension of gravity.
The tension of gravity, I love that.
Yeah, you're trusting the natural pull of a connection rather than trying to engineer it. It means sitting comfortably in the ambiguity, holding your own center of gravity, and observing what happens next without forcing an outcome.
It's stepping back and saying, I am here, the door is open, I'm completely present, but I'm not going to drag you through it.
Which requires massive vulnerability. You have to genuinely accept that they might look at the open door and choose not to walk through it. By relinquishing that illusion of control, you let the connection be real.
Wow. We have really journeyed through some dense psychological territory today.
We really have.
We went from the self-defeating trap of control and overthinking, realizing how it just kills presence, to the liberating power of space and simply allowing desire to exist unforced.
It's a complete paradigm shift for how most of us operate.
It really is. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with the final lingering question to mull over, something that builds on everything we just talked about.
I'm curious where you're taking this.
Well, think about it. If desire absolutely requires space, freedom, and an uncalculated reality to survive, how much of our modern, hyper-connected, perfectly curated digital communication is actively suffocating the very desire we're trying so desperately to build?
Oh, wow. That is a heavy question.
Right. With read receipts, real-time location tracking, the little typing bubbles, we've practically engineered the necessary space out of existence. Are we just replacing the natural gap of human connection with a digital surveillance state?
It definitely forces a calculated interaction instead of an organic one.
Something to really think about next time you feel the urge to double text or check a read receipt. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We wish you the best of luck in finding the courage to step back, stop overthinking, and simply allow things to be real.